to show. Okay, once we do this, what is the factors required for germination? We all know very well, we keep reading that everywhere the germination cannot take place. Then where will it take place? So for that, I have taken one rod, and I have already stuck, to save the time, I have already stuck one double tape. You can also do that, it is very easy to stick the germ. If you take any rod, your scale is enough in the school, any rod, anything will do, there is nothing specific in it. See, I have taken the 3 little stronger seeds, Rajma lighter variety. Now they are not falling because of the double tape. And then I have taken the water here. So now this glass, I am keeping this like this. So what we have to do now, how we have to do in this, one seed is completely under the water. Can you see? One seed is above the water level. This seed is exposed and getting only sunlight. This seed is getting only water. So there is a middle seed. In this middle seed, we have to ensure that it will get water. I am trying to raise the level. 50% of the seed is inside the water and the rest is in above the water. This is a very famous 3 seeds experiment, children, to make you understand that what are the factors that are essential for germination of a seed. So again, as I told, why I have taken today is the first day of this experiment. I have taken today all that needs time, maybe 3 days, 4 days. We have to wait. Once we are doing practicals, we should have the patience to note down. First we have done the observation, we have understood certain factors. We had a question in the mind, how is the water rising up? And we had a question in mind, why some seeds will germinate while others don't germinate. Similarly, we had a question in the mind, and what way, how to identify dicot root and a monocot root. And that already I have done that day in detail, so now I am not going into that description. Only thing I am trying to do it now is, I am going to plant them. I have taken 2 double beans so that you will be very nicely visible both the cotyledons. So that is why I have taken 2 and made the soil, as already I taught you how to make the soil. For particularly germination, it should be very loose soil. It should be with more of sand, cocoa pit, and very little of garden soil. Because here for germination purpose, soil should be very loose. Afterwards, when you replant it, you can shift it to a regular sand. So today, for our experiment sake, I have kept 2 double beans. That means they are both double beans is an example for a dicot plant. So I have planted that, and luckily, coincidentally, I got monocot seeds also, which are, as I told you, very rare to get. So these are dates. So I have taken the 2 monocot roots because they are monocot, because they cannot be broken into 2 equal pieces. And already in my other one, part 2 of botany, I have given you all the differences between monocot and dicot. So now we are planting 2 monocot seeds, dates it is, in one container, and 2 dicot seeds in another container. So this also we have to wait and watch. I have chosen all the experiments that requires 4 to 5 days time for getting the result. So today is the first day. Today's date is April 15. So first day, remember, April 15th, we have already finished with osmosis experimentation, factors required for germination, and the difference between dicot germination and monocot germination. So these three examples are done. I have to do, this is only the example of, again, hydroponic. There are so many plants that doesn't require soil. So if this is all like ornamental, many people keep it in the house. Money plants, varieties, creepers. Today I have kept it. I will just remove and show you, because I have just cut it. You have to cut it and ensure that one at least node, because the node is the place where the roots will grow. So one node should be under the water. If you just take care of that aspect of it, then after these experiments are over, I can show you the roots also growing. So I put very little salt. If you want, I will put you again. Why we are adding little water, salt in the water? So that this water will become rich in mineral, sodium chloride mineral. You can add sugar also, so that even the good the glucose also will be available. So this is another plant. I am two varieties of plants I am putting, and ensuring that at least one node is inside the water, because node is the place from where the roots like this will grow, and these roots allow it to sustain. You can see the root. At every node you can see the root. These are the roots actually. So one node is inside the water means from there the roots will start growing, and aram se it will be a good indoor plant. So this is again another why I have kept today for once again for hydroponic. I want to show you the roots also growing in the water. Namaste. Good morning, my dear friends and my loving students, for whose sake I am back. I am Vani Sharma. Today back with some pending work. Last we have done an experiment, and today we are back with the results. That is about factors needed for germination. Then today I am going to cover parts of a plant, parts of a leaf, or seed, flower, and then germination stages of germination in monocot and dicot. That's what we have done and stopped. Today little growth is there, so I just thought of giving you all further details. So today the first one what we have done, we are moving out with this. So this is, if you remember, we have done this germination experiment. They have taken one rod and then tied 3 seeds to the rod, and then poured water to the middle level, so that the first middle seed is 50% in water and 50% in air. And then top one gets only sunlight and air, the bottom one will get only water. So this is the experiment. So we know very well that everything, all are required for germination. But in this case, let's observe what has happened. So now I will remove it from the glass, and very visible result is very visible. You can very nicely see what happened. What is your observation? The one that was in the water is totally swollen because it absorbed the water but did not germinate. The one up above the water dried up, no difference in that. Whereas the middle one, which has got the water, the sunlight, and you can see the beautiful germination has taken place. Today is 25th, and then we have done this experiment on 15th, that is the 5 days after this one. And you can see the beautiful germination. And another interesting factor also, you can see the way it has taken the turn and then trying to go towards the soil. Again, this also I have done already, that's called tropism. The roots get attracted towards the soil, and the shoot gets attracted towards this one. So this, you can easily see the loop also, growth also. So what does this experiment prove? This proves that factors needed for germination is not just any one, but it needs water, it needs soil, if not soil, water, air and sunlight. These are the basic requirement, essentials for the germination to take place. That is the reason these two did not. This swollen took take water but did not germinate. This took the sunlight, dried but did not germinate. Only the middle seed germinated. So this is how, by doing an experiment, we have got a beautiful inference that factors essential for germination are water, sunlight, and air. So this one is the inference what we have done before. Similarly, we have another experiment also the other day we have done, taking monocot and dicot seeds. So let me take out those two seeds and show you. If you go back and see the previous one, we sowed monocot seed and dicot seed. Let's dig it out and see. These I had the dates, so I have put them in the soil and just dug out and then kept ready. If we clean it, you can see on a close-up shot, just started. Germination just started after 10 days, because the bigger the seed, we always say that longer it takes. Whereas our other ones have already planted also, the first day what we have kept. Plantation also started. This is the another beautiful, you can see that it's a dicot seed. This is a monocot seeds, take longer time, almost same size I have taken for comparison. So monocots just started the germination, whereas the dicot, so much is the growth. So this one, that means that dicots take longer time to germinate. So this is again the inference of the experiment what we have done. So these two I have kept it aside because I need to show you the method we are using. As every time I said, we are first observing, then we are doing the one hypothesis, then we are doing the experimentation, and then we are coming to the inference. So then I need to show you another interesting things also here. These are all related to plant. And today, since dicot and monocot germination stages, I cannot show you right now because the monocot has not yet taken. Whereas in another plant, such a beautiful, we can say, see, after the germination, I will tell you the seeds also, the parts of a seed, then I will show you this, how these two are cotyledons. This is called apical. I will show you after doing the experiment with the seeds. Then I can show you the parts of a seed, then I will come back to you with explaining the other things. So now to teach you the parts of a seed, I am just removing the one seed from here. Wow. This is the seed cover. Every seed cotyledons, these two are the two cotyledons. Can you see, children? These two are the two cotyledons, and these two are embedded in the seed cover. So this, you can see one grows this side, the other grows this side also. So one will become, we have already seen, the first growth will be roots, because roots need to go inside the soil and then they have to get the nutrition, then only the shoot will go. So this portion is, these are all already the roots have come. So it has taken a turn and then it is trying to go into the searching for its tropism, geotropism. So This is called radicle. This part is called radicle. The one that is going to come up as a shoot is called plumule. This is this early stage, it is called radicle. This is called plumule. So why I have kept it aside? Because of this portion, it is the next stage. It has grown big, and so these two cotyledons are come up, and then only after in a dicot they come above the soil, and then after some time they fall off. That is why I could get that one also. So now I will detailed explanation. If I have to tell you, I will take another seed and see if it is visible. I think it is this seed is better. You can see one white spot, and you can also see another below, one more spot also. Here also you can see one is called mitochondria. That means one is for the supplement of water. So one is the seed cover. Seed cover is also called testa. This cover, seed cover, is a general term. Its a botanical name is testa. Similarly, root is called radicle, shoot is called plumule when they are in an younger stage. And there will be one dot-like structure. That opening is for taking the water. The seed needs to take the water. So that is called your helium. And mitochondria is the one, because here it is already grown and opened. I am unable to show the mitochondria. Both will be side next to next only. Mitochondria and helium, radicle, plumule, then testa. These are the parts of a seed. I can open and keep it also so beautifully. You can see here this part also, isn't it? So this is again, I can repeat. These two are cotyledons. This is, as on now, it is called radicle, and this is called plumule. And from here, because seed cover is removed, you cannot see the mitochondria. That is from where the water goes. Helium, and if there is another seed, I could show you. This is a monocot, so visibility is not much. So one is for sending the water, absorbing the water, another is for the growth. So these are all called the parts of a seed. Now parts of a seed, I can also tell you in a simple way, parts of a plant also. So what is parts of a plant? It is very simple, from lower classes you will learn. So this is called, till here it is called root. From here to here it is called shoot, and then the shoot will have the first leaves will come, then after the leaves flowers, and then fruits and all will come. And this is another, because I didn't get a bigger one, I am just only to show that in dicot plants the same cotyledons will come up, and then epiglottis, they are called epiglottis. Whereas in a monocot, since I cannot show you, they don't come above the soil, they will be below the soil. So they are called hypoglottis. This is the parts of a plant. And similarly, anyhow then you can also see one more example also. They are almost like they are turned into leaves. They look similar to leaves, but they are actually not leaves. These two are cotyledons that changed into, appear like roots. These are the real leaves that are coming up. So these are the examples that I could find from my garden. Another interesting one, the other day when I was trying to say thigmotropism. Thigmotropism, I said that it is called touch me not. So the moment you touch the leaf, it will shrink. And now already, because it is I am touching it, it is already shrunk. It will immediately, by touch sensitive, these plants are. They are called, it's called touch me not. So accidentally I found it in my little garden. So I thought I'll show you. Because it is, the leaves already, you can see that they are shrunk. They are closed rather. They don't, they open up the moment nobody touches. As long as they are in the soil, they will open up. The moment anybody touches, it will close. This is touch sensitive. This is called stigmotropism. The other day I was looking for a good example. So today I found it. I thought from my previous experiment, this I will also show you today. Then having come to this, I thought I will also teach you simple leaf and a compound leaf. What is the structure of a leaf? This entire portion is called lamina. So in the lamina, there will be a midrib. From the midrib, side veins will come. This is the structure of a leaf. So this leaf will come and get attached to it comes from a stem. So when like a single piece, if it comes, it is called a single leaf. Whereas rose is the best example for a compound leaf. You can see here. This is not branch. This is the midrib. From the midrib, again the side leaves are leaflets. We call them as leaflets. This entire thing is a leaf. These are called leaflets. So this is an example for compound leaf. So you may think how to identify which is a leaf, which is a simple leaf, which is a compound leaf. So that's the starting point. This is how when it is attached to the main stem and then comes and has break like 5 or 7 or such things. See here also, you can easily say that this is a compound leaf. Each leaf, if you call it an each leaf, it is leaflet. If this entire thing is called leaf, the small ones are called leaflets. So this is the midrib actually. And then they are again further divided like this into leaflets. How do we identify? From the stem, this is the stem. So from the stem, like this is called axil. From where the starting point is called axil. And from axil, the midrib is coming. And then from that, the entire lamina or the leaf is divided into leaflets. So how do you say that? Again, you may have a question. The flowers or the fruits come only from the axil, not from here. If this is a leaf, if each one is a leaf, from the leaf at the bottom axil, the fruit or a flower must come. But if you observe, they will never, wherever the root, flower, then fruit comes, is an axial point which is the main connected to the stem. So after that, this is a further division of a leaf. So this is called a compound leaf. So I hope it is clear for you the difference between a simple leaf and a compound leaf. I see this is also these are all the simple leaves. You can see this is the main stem. From the stem, from the axil, the leaf is coming. So if at all flower comes, fruit comes, it comes at this point, not anywhere here. So that is the reason this is easy. How to identify? You may think that, get confused, why can't this entire thing be a compound leaf? If you are given this much piece and this much piece, you should not have confusion. You should see exactly where this axil is connected. That will be the leaf starting point. This from here to here it becomes a midrib. These are all the which is divided, further divided, leaf is divided into leaflets. So such a leaf is called compound leaf. This type of leaf is called a simple leaf. So having started, I thought I will tell you the difference between simple leaf, compound leaf, and parts of a seed, then parts of a flower. I am sure everybody loves to know parts of a flower also. What are the parts of flower? See, you can see I just have this one, whatever is there. I have kept so many varieties of flowers here, lovely from my little garden here. So again, similar to compound leaf and a compound simple leaf, Flowers are also like that, inflorescence. These are called compound flowers. You can see multiple layers are there. Rows, not rows. These are all the compound. Where from one axil, see, you can see that many will come. So here also leaf fruit. This is also a compound flower. That's the reason I have kept some compound flowers and simple flowers. This is a simple flower, single layer will be there. So these are all I could have my hand on today's garden, but they are all little dull, but still I'll try to teach you parts of a flower. So let us open. You can see this here. This is called stalk. Where the flower starts from the shoot is called stalk. And then this is the first or the last whorl. We call it as whorl. 4 whorls. A flower is made up of 4 whorls. So this one is green, generally single layer, or sometimes there will be an additional growth. Second layer also will be there depending on the type of a flower. So this green one, during a bud stage, all these petals which are colorful will be inside. So what is the purpose of the external outermost whorl is, these are called sepals, and then these sepals are meant to protect the internal beautiful coloring sepals. So these are all called sepals, these are called petals, these are called sepals. So any flower you take here, you will have these two. See, you can see the sepals, you can see the petals. Here also you can see outside stalk, sepals, petals. Here the sepals fallen, so you can see the multicolored petals. So what is the main purpose means, the purpose is like in bud stage you can very visibly see sepals will be dominating. So this leaves this beautiful colored, multicolored I have kept here. So all this will be for protection, and that is the topmost, outermost whorl of a flower is called sepals. The second whorl, the second circular things are called petals. These are lovely colorful petals. Then let's open it. Wow. So now you can see, I will further break it. Actually, there are other ones, other good examples will be there, but still it's okay. This is also a good example. See, now you can see all the 4 sepals outside, petals inside, that is the second whorl. Then the third whorls, the entire thing we call it as androecium, and inside the androecium, that is androecium is a male reproductive organ, so protected this gynoecium inside. Wow. Understood now? Can you see that now? Now I broke out. This is the innermost protected 4th layer. So sepals, petals, gynoecium, androecium. Now what does this again further contain? I will show you individually now. If I can separate now, it is like a dissection of a flower, children. So unless I do it carefully, properly, will not be able. These are the 4 layers. So hope it is clear for you all. Outermost, what is the function of it? Protection of the entire flower. Oh, then what is the purpose of this beautiful colorful petals? To attract. Unless they are having a nice aroma, unless they have got a beautiful color, butterflies won't come. If the butterflies won't come, then this reproduction process itself will stop, because these are the male and female. See, this is a male reproductive part, that is called gynoecium, entire thing. This is a female reproductive part, it is called this is called androecium, this is called gynoecium. So if you look at it, so its purpose is to attract for this one. This is for fertilization, this is for protection. Now if I open this, this is the inside ovary and pistil. This entire thing is called pistil. And then if you cut open this inside, of course it may not be visible with the ordinary camera, you will find ovules and ovary. Ovules are visible. Small dot-like things. Ovules will be there inside the ovary. So one has come out. If I bigger flower I take, more visible they will be. One got stuck to the needle. You can, it's visible. Both the sides, on either side, ovules will be there. And this entire this is called, this long tubular structure is called pistil. And now here coming to this, what is this? Here it is combined, otherwise some will be 4, 5 individual will be there. In this particular flower, they are all combined in a tubular structure. And here they are called anthers. These are the ones finally, pollen grains will be there inside each anther. You can see. See, these pollen grains, they will go and fall on this gynoecium pistil top, and then through this tubular structure they get into the ovary, and then inside the ovules, when fertilization takes place, and after the fertilization gamete will take place, then that will become a fruit. This is the process. So that is the purpose of having all these parts of a plant. Such a beautiful mechanism inside the flower. Every flower, again there will be male and female flowers also. So if it is a bisexual flower, both female and male reproductive organs will be inside a flower. It is called bisexual flower. If some flowers will be only either male or female. So here I can, unless we open and then see, we will not be able to identify. Can you see? There is no female, no pollen grains, no anther in this flower. So it is a female reproductive flower. So each one, you can, when you critically open and see, some are bisexual, some are monosexual. So whenever it is there, then how does it happen? If it is a single, when it doesn't have, how it will happen? There is called cross fertilization and multiple. So like that, each one, the germination, again the germination is different. Germination is a growth of a plant. Then from flower to flower, there will be a procedure where there will be growth of the plant. So if I go more deep into the subject, then today it will be difficult. So that I will cover it next time. So today I have only taught you, because each one I have to go. If I go into the seeds, I have to tell you how they go from one place to other and all those things. Then if I get into the flower fertilization, again there will be cross-pollination, self-pollination, and then self-pollination means what? pollen grains. As I told you, these are called the pollen grains. So when the pollen grain, the same from same flower onto the same one, if it goes and falls, it is called self-pollination. If it goes and falls on another flower, this same pollen grain, if it goes and falls on this flower, it is called cross-pollination. So like that with two different flowers, I am able to try to explain you. So self-pollination is there, cross-pollination is there. So that is how the similarly dispersal of seeds. If it comes to varieties of seeds are there. So some are the agents. I told you the agents for germination. Similarly, agents for dispersal also. Wind is another dispersal of seed. Water is dispersal of seeds. Then animals are also an agent. If they get stuck to the animals when they are doing some with the thorns and all. I didn't get those type of all varieties of seeds. So I could not show you today. The factors are the agents that carry the help in dispersal of seeds. Some will be very light. They float in water and then they go to some other place. Some will have wings-like structures, like drumstick seeds and all. If you observe, they will have small wings. So they fly, like Kanakambar. They fly. The plant may be here and one plant has come here. How did it come? See, one Kanakambar plant has come here, one is there. I have not put that one there. So what happened? Because of they break open and through wind they grow. So that is the reason somehow the seeds with the air was the agent for that. So it fell there and then it germinated. See, this is how sometimes the air, sometimes the water, sometimes the animals, like this different types of agents are there which help in dispersion of seeds. That is how the plant kingdom grows in each different places. So with this, my parts of a seed, parts of a flower, growth of plants, simple parts of a plant, then types of leaves, how to identify a simple leaf and a compound leaf, and all these things I could cover here. So I hope the lesson is meaningful for you all. Thank you. See you. Bye. See you next time with another one with Newton's laws. So we will we keep switching from biology, botany to chemistry to physics. The reason is I believe in integrated science. When we have learned about simple machines, we must know that simple machines are there in our body. Our neck is standing on the head. Because here I did that simple machines. So fulcrum, then the entire body weight is also it is your load and your head is the force, like that. So if you look at this only hand, this is the fulcrum and here is our load, our work, what we do, everything, here is the load and here is your, what we call it as fulcrum, we call it as load, we call it as effort. So simple machines are there in our body also. Similarly, if you stand on the foot when you are walking, this is where the weight falls. This is you take the step. So this is your fulcrum point, the load and the effort. So all why I integrate and then I am trying to tell the science is every branch of science is related. We must know to understand that there is chemistry inside our stomach. So the entire chemistry, the gases, acids, everything is there inside the body. Viruses, bacteria are there inside the body. So we must know to integrate science, all the branches, and learn and that interdependence and integration is the best way of learning science. So thank you. See you. Bye to the next one.